for dialing in for this webinar on how to leverage AI for your club, how to perhaps sell it to your club, to your committee, and the different ways that you can, maybe some hints and tips that you can be using to run things using leveraging AI with it all. Let me just run this. So yeah, I think it's a tremendous opportunity for sports clubs at all scales, all levels to leverage AI. Like, this is beautifully placed for sports. Sports has traditionally always been under-resourced, underfunded, whether it's, number of hands that you've got to run these sporting organizations has always been a problem. AI helps alleviate a whole lot of stress on that front, which I'll run through. I think there's lots of different ways that you can leverage AI, and we're only at the very start of the journey with AI, so it's all very, very exciting. So let me run through how I think you could potentially scale your team, your committee, your board on Monday morning. Some of the tools that you can perhaps go back to on Monday, or maybe it's Thursday night at the committee meeting. I know that there's lots of different ideas and schools of thought around what AI is and how to leverage it. Some people are scared of it. Some people are, at the other end of the spectrum, really starting to leverage it all. So we'll go through a bit of it. So like I've already touched on, lots of sports organizations, all the way up to some of the national and state sporting organizations that we work with, just bigger versions of these clubs who are stretched. There are lots of different people trying to do different things, usually in their own little silos. They're burnt out. They're overwhelmed with inboxes full of stuff. And you're meant to get together on a Thursday night and just figure it all out. It's chaotic at best. And most people didn't go down to their sports club, to their sports organizations to be the secretary or be the president. Most people went down because they love the game of footy or cricket or whatever it is that got your tribe together. That's what they went down there for. They went down because they feel that their club is a really important part of what makes their community a great place to live. It could be that they want to be a bit of a role model for their kids. There's lots of reasons that they go down to the club. Primarily, it's not because they want to be a great secretary and write excellent policy documents for their local community. It's kind of how we get stretched out. And unfortunately, the tenure in Australia has dropped significantly. The average volunteer only lasts 2.1 years. So every 12 months, 50% of committees churn out. They're getting overworked, and it's just not scalable, especially in 2025 when we've got all these opportunities and possibilities literally in the palm of our hand. People no longer are willing to sit around for 14 hours a week, which is the average, to run their local sports clubs. So I think AI helps resolve a bunch of the issues in there. So important asterisk, everyone's concerned about replacing people. I think, of course, it'll replace some roles in the employment side of things. I think ultimately it frees people to focus in on what they're really, really passionate about and good at. And a lot of the busy work around it starts to get done with AI, especially in sport. AI isn't going to replace having your kids kick a footy or you going out and having a run and having a beer with your mates. I think AI does start to replace the busy work around it with policies and reporting and all sorts of other things, coordinating your social calendars, which we'll get into. I think it frees you up from all that pain. I consider it pain of running clubs. It's why Tidy exists, which is part of the reason I'm so excited about it. But it really frees you up to do what you should be doing. So an analogy that I think's a useful one to take back to the committee, perhaps on next Thursday night, or when you're talking to your peers, your friends, etc., as to how to view AI with your organization. I think running a sports club is a bit like being a farmer from 100 years ago. You're doing a bloody good job. You're probably out there behind the equivalent of 6 Clydesdales, ploughing and toiling and seeding the soil, etc. when people come and ask, how can we help you? It's always, we need more resources, we need more money, we need more people, etc. And we do a pretty good job to get the most out of our paddock, our community, to make things happen. And farmers 100 years ago had some John Deere tractors rolling down the side of the farm, and a few farmers sort of looked at it and ignored it, said, that's not for us. We love our Clydesdales. We love our way of doing things. Some people looked at it and said, I've already got some way to get to the shops and pick up the groceries. That's not really for us. I've tried it, not for us, and chosen to ignore it. And some farmers will figure out how to drive the thing, and it will evolve. So the John Deere tractor from 100 years ago looks very different to the one today. But obviously there's still farmers today. There's still people, growing us food, but you only need 5 people to run the farm instead of 100 people to run the farm. Things have become much more efficient. And if you're running large acreage and you weren't using an advanced tractor with GPS and all the things, you'd be looked at a little bit weirdly. And if you're employing somebody to work on the farm as a farmhand, you'd have an expectation that they know how to use a John Deere tractor with all the GPS systems and what have you. The tractors are coming, and we've got to learn how to use these things to our best advantage to get the most out of our paddock, and leverage it to deliver the most for our community with it all. And it's a bit like now when you're employing someone in your business, that I don't even ask, can you use email? There's an expectation that you can use email. And I think it's going to be the same with AI very, very quickly, though, that in 12 months' time, there's just going to be an expectation that you know how to best leverage AI to do the most for your organization, whether that's in the professional life or in your volunteering life. I think it's a really helpful analogy to take back to your community and help illustrate where this is going. It's only going to evolve, and we need to figure out how to best leverage it along the way. So the shift is already happening. So ChatGPT, which is probably the most famous of the large learning models, reached 100 million people in just a couple of months, which is unbelievable. That's faster than any technology in history. So this is one of the first times where technology has skipped over a bunch of the usual steps. So the usual steps are, and it has gone through these steps, but the defense force, the corporates, if you think about iPhones or something like that, the big corporates were giving out iPhones to their salespeople or what have you for a year or two before it became synonymous with everybody having an iPhone in their pocket. Same with Facebook. It was in US colleges for a few years before it came to Australia. Same with Spotify or Netflix. It usually sort of staggers out over time. Same with fax machines. I'm going back further with the internet, things like that. It took a long time to grow to 100 million people. ChatGPT decided to skip over all that and give it away for nothing for the whole world, which is amazing. But it means that when I go to a conference and ask people when I'm presenting who's used ChatGPT in the last week, just about every single person puts their hand up. A lot of people have replaced Google with ChatGPT to do simple search queries, which I'll get into in a bit. And that's having a massive impact on how these organizations are running and how you should be thinking about it. How big global organizations are now using AI every single day. It's already automating a lot of the administration tasks in these multinational organizations, which is quite interesting. That was in 2024. It's only gone up from there. These big companies, Duolingo, who, if you want to learn a language, Duolingo is a platform that you can use for that, and Shopify, which is a commerce platform, have stopped using consultants altogether. They put a pause on all hiring of consultants and have advised all their staff to use AI as their consultants instead, which is incredibly interesting. And Microsoft and PwC now handle reporting 60% of the time using AI, which is really, really interesting. We've at Tidy started to use AI and experiment with AI with our own reporting, which we hope to roll out to you in due course. But it's a really smart way to get an executive summary to take to the committee to understand exactly how things are tracking with your organizations automagically. So in summary, I don't think we're short of talent. I think we've got really great people. When we do surveys with who's running our clubs, I think lots of people, when they hear the word volunteer, they think of the bumbling canteen lady that doesn't know how to use a phone, or the team manager who doesn't know how to, use an iPad or something like that. What we find when we survey clubs is that there's very competent, capable people running these organizations. They know how to use Xero. They know how to have different logins for different platforms, because they run in their day job businesses. They're the business operators, managers. They're actually very competent, capable people. They're just short on leverage. And I think AI really helps with the leverage that these very competent, capable people can do to get more out of themselves and for the club that they're working with. So the old way of running your sport, there was hours and hours. The average person spends 14 hours a week running their sports club in Australia. That's the senior committee administrator. I know I was doing closer to 40 hours a week in pre-season leading up to round one with my football club when I was president. It's a lot of time to do that sort of thing. The new way is that you can spend a whole lot more time on what matters. I went down to the footy club to make some mates and run around the park. I can get back to that sort of stuff. Spreadsheets, there are a million spreadsheets being spun up for all sorts of things, from which t-shirt sizes. Talking to a rugby league club yesterday, over 500 people at the club, and she's collating all the t-shirt sizes with a spreadsheet. This way you can get all that, but you can have AI summaries as to how many t-shirts to order and which teams need what sizes and all those sorts of things automagically with it all. A large amount of those 14 hours is administration time in an inbox, trying to work things out at a committee meeting, trying to farm bits and pieces out as well. I think that translates into higher impact time. We can get back to what we actually enjoy, which I'm going to keep banging on about, but that's the real sort of key here with it all. And no budget for consulting. Clubs should have a bunch of consultants around them, from people helping them submit grants to helping them write safeguarding policies, concussion policies, Indigenous policies, etc. Working out strategies for running their club to finding more sponsors, all sorts of things. You can now have all those consultants surrounding your club, and they're always available. They're always on. Everyone on the committee can access them and really help with driving that strategy for the organisation, which I think is incredibly exciting. So some of the success that we've been sort of a part of or helped to drive with AI is that we've helped an organisation win a $250K grant using an AI grant writer, and I'll get into how you can do these sorts of things shortly. Stadium funding was up in Queensland as part of the Olympic run, was secured with AI written lobbying to politicians to secure the right amount of funding for the stadium. Automated brand kits. So one of the painful things for running my club was, where's the logo? How do we leverage this logo to build up more branding for social media posts, or maybe it's marketing material to go to all the local businesses to ask for money to sponsor them. What do I write in a marketing document? All those sorts of things can be automated very, very quickly. Targeting schools. So for us, my personal example was I needed to attract kids to join my footy club. How do I do that? How do I talk to phys ed teachers? How should we be partnering with other sports organizations to get the most out of it? Do we need to partner with the local surf club or netball club or t-ball club? How do I work with different, we had private schools, we had public schools. How should I work with this? Should I give away some training singlets? All those sorts of questions can be automatically provided for you in a bit of a strategy for schools. a lot of clubs don't even have strategies for schools or aren't thinking about it this way. They can at least have a bit of a run up for those sorts of things. And multiple sport activations. So some state sports bodies, this is are trying to work out how to win over schools to really run their sport in amongst everything else. The schools are a bit lost, they're underfunded, under-resourced themselves. So could a few state sporting bodies get together and provide a program that they can give a phys ed teacher or the school, so kids can get a taste of hockey and football and cricket and basketball all within the basketball stadium over a 6-week period that the phys ed teacher can just sort of take and run, that gets all activations going and gives them a taste of all these sports. AI has been leveraged to help create some of those things as well. So I'm all about experimentation. So it's a very cheap way, and we'll get into some of the costs behind this stuff shortly. But I think you need to be thinking about what you're doing now and sort of start small, run some experiments, think about some of the things that you do on the regular, things that might be painful for you, and really have an experimental mindset as to how we're going to run this with the organization, with the club, with the board. So for example, here's a bunch on the left-hand side here. For me, writing up policies is not my favorite thing. I get confused. I've never written a policy. One way to do this, and we'll get into some prompt engineering, we've got a QR code that will link you through to some resources that you can use lately. And maybe it's a follow-up webinar that we'll run, but prompt engineering, how you engineer a prompt, so how you talk to ChatGPT or Claude or any of those platforms is really, really important. How you prompt it will dictate the quality of the experience coming out the other end. So one of the sort of visualizations that I have is that an LLM is all of the world's knowledge. And if I had 100 people in a box and I said, hey, write me an Indigenous policy, it could be pretty flat. 100 people, it's like having 100 monkeys write an Indigenous policy. It would be okay, I think, average. And that's the usual experience people have with ChatGPT, is that I prompted it, I asked for an Indigenous policy and it came out with a type response. I'm not that convinced. If, however, you prompt it with, hey, we've got a round table of experts, we've got people, you know, my club is in Bundaberg, the local mob is this group. I've got a round table of experts that understand the Indigenous requirements from a state or national body level. We've got people from the local mob that are elders that are helping us shape this thing, etc. You'll get a much better response. People that know the local culture, that know the local language, that know the requirements that we have on us to write these sorts of things. And the same can be said for safeguarding, for concussion frameworks, for all sorts of things that you have with policies. One simple sort of thought experiment is, if you had a round table of people that would advise you, what would they be? Who would they look like? Describe them in complete detail. Don't be afraid to describe them as to, you know, they could be a fanciful person. This is a person that has been writing Indigenous policies for the last 30 years for sporting organisations at all levels across the country, with a particular interest in Queensland and the local area of Bundaberg. They've advised a number of these organisations, etc. So really go all in with describing who is sitting at the table next to you to create this policy. The same with grants, for example. I have a grants writer that has had specific experience with writing sports grants for this local area with this particular body. I upload the strategy of the organisation that's giving it to me. So, for example, I'd upload the strategy for the local government. I'd upload the strategy that we have as a sports club. I'd upload various guides for writing great grants. And then I'd have a bunch of characters around the table that know how to write really, really well, that I respect, and they can help drive the grants, etc. Better designs, Canva, or you can work directly with LLM. LLM is large language model. That's the sort of big black box that OpenAI is. So you can upload logos. You can sort of really geek out on this. So one of the experiments that I did with a netball organization in South Australia was, if Nike was working with the netball club, what would their branding look like? Automatically upgrade the logo. It's a pretty old, flat looking logo. What would that look like when we had some other views on that logo? What would the taglines be if Nike was running this netball club in the city of Playford in Adelaide? How would that look? How would that be different, etc.? So you could automate all these social tiles for pre-season, in-season, post-season, etc. along the way. Social events. So we would be sitting around the committee table. We would have some butcher's paper, the list of our fixtures, work out what the home and away events are. We want our social events at the home games, etc. This way, upload your fixtures, work out who what your 4 social events are, or ask it to your round table of events specialists. Ask them, what are the top 8 social events that we could be running as a football netball club? Our room fits 100 people. We want to raise this much money, etc., etc. Is a great way to do it. Pre-season calendar, or perhaps post-season calendar. Pre-season, I wanted to know, how do I map out pre-season? We've got maybe a running group at the start of the year. How do I even position that? How do I promote that on social media? How should I work with new coaches that are coming into the organization? How do I coordinate my committee to come together to make things happen, etc., etc. Now I've got a consultant around me that can help map out what that calendar is. And most importantly, they're a consultant that never gets tired of your questions. So you can ask them forever. All the dumb questions, I've got plenty of them that I ask as to, well, why shouldn't I do this? Always question the other side of it when it runs a recommendation as to, you should run a running group that runs every Thursday. Well, how about some kids are really, really good at running? Other kids just want to, we just want to go for a walking group. Would a walking group work with the parents, or something along those lines? You can ask all the dumb questions, and it'll never get tired of you, which I personally appreciate. And finally, AGM planning. We're coming up for the winter sports for AGMs at the end of the year. Upload your constitution. Get the links, or just say that you're in the state of Victoria, and every state's got its own rules around how to run an association or a club. It can provide the AGM framework, the agenda that you should be running with, that complies with your constitution. It could also advise how many members you need at the pub on the Sunday to have a successful AGM. It can tell you how to send out invitations, what's the period of time that we need to send out invitations before the AGM date, etc., etc. It can plan out the whole AGM. Obviously, the agenda you just copy and paste into Tidy for your meetings, and get your AGMs done with us as well. But all that AGM planning, all the pre-work that needs to get done for that AGM can all be automatically done now with an AI consultant, which is incredibly helpful. So some of the tools that you can use, I've already touched on a bunch of them. ChatGPT Pro, which is run by OpenAI, it's about $20 a month. It is the easiest $20 that you can validate. I'm sure you spend more on coffee a month, and this will save way more time and help you far more even than a coffee. I know I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm confident. It's the easiest one, I think, to get started. There's a bunch of others that you can use with Claude and a few others, but ChatGPT Pro is a really nice launching place for you to set things up. If you've got ChatGPT Pro, you get access to projects as well, so you can have projects of work. So you could have a project for your club, you could have a project for marketing or grants or what have you, that you can really get into, which we can talk about in a later session. Tidy Connect for governing body administrators. If you're watching this, Tidy Connect allows you to connect to all your clubs and work smarter with all of your organizations at scale. It can provide some AI insights as to where you should spend your time and attention with working with different clubs around the place. TidyMind is another solution that some people use. TidyMind has the advantages that it can plug into lots of different learning language models, and you can create agents or personas that we can talk in a later session as well, which is really helpful. Fathom I use every single day, every single meeting like this. A lot of the committee meetings now are being run on Zoom calls. Fathom just plugs into it. It's a minute taker, which really helps and generates actions for you as well, which you can just copy and paste into your Tidy meeting summary as well, which is really helpful. Zapier allows you to if this then that, which is a great tool to use, which we can get into another time as well. Reclaim is a tool that we use to organize the calendar. That probably requires a whole series on calendar organization. But Reclaim allows it to automatically coordinate my tasks with my personal life and my work life, and organize things based on priorities. Canva, you're probably familiar with, good Australian born platform to help with marketing materials. They've launched their AI Magic Studio, which helps design flyers and reports. I know a lot of you are already using that. And Descript. So if you are recording videos and bits and pieces, Descript is really, really helpful. So if you're recording a pre-season video of your coach that's saying, get around the club, this is the standards that we have for being part of our football club, or whatever it might be, Descript can take out all the ums and the ahs and really cut it into a really short, sharp video for you to post on socials or wherever it might be. People have no time now, so you want to shorten your videos and take out all the ums and ahs, which we all mutter at time to time. Really helpful tool. There are literally thousands of tools out there, but there are a few that you can get started with. The most significant one, I think, is probably ChatGPT to get going. It's a really cheap, easy launch place, like I mentioned. We've also built a little AI course for you. So if you scan in this code, it'll take you off to register and links out to a GPT or a Google Doc. So a Google Doc that you can copy and paste into your ChatGPT. That'll give you a bit of a course on using AI and prompt engineering and those sorts of things. At the bottom of that Google Doc, there is a section specifically built for South Australian sports organisations. You just replace that with your own state or location, and it will configure it for you based on that. Localizing the content specifically for your state, for your local area, is really, really helpful and will slightly change the output. Like I said, how you prompt is really important. So do change that bit when you get to the Google Doc. And things that you can do on Monday. So reflect on some of the repeating actions that you do when running your committee. Things that you don't really want to be doing is a great starting point, I think, to reflect on. Also think about who are the dreamy agents, the consultants that you wish you had around you. If you're a professional club, who are the consultants that you'd hire in? You'd hire in the safeguarding expert. You'd hire in the Indigenous expert, the consultant, the coaching consultant. You'd probably hire in a consultant to work with the local government that gifts you your change rooms or what have you, your clubhouse. It could be a consultant that helps you work with the local play group to get people involved with the club in different ways. Write some of those dreamy people that you have around. Implement a rule in your committee. Ask AI first. So before coming up with great ideas or shiny ideas, ask AI first. I know it's what we've implemented in Tidy. Us as a team is that I want everyone in our team to be asking AI first and questioning with AI before they bring it back into a team call and spend everyone's time thinking about and reflecting on these things. AI can shortcut a bunch of the dumb questions and really sort of sharpen what you're putting out there and bringing back to the committee or the boardroom. I'd suggest getting your team to run through a 30-minute course, be it this one, or we can share a link to another one post this. Purchase a ChatGPT license. Like I said, it's the easiest, 20 USD. It's probably about 100 Australian dollars these days. But purchase the ChatGPT license. I don't think you'll look back. It's a really helpful tool. And of course, you're welcome to book some time with us to leverage how you're using TidyHQ to run operations in a smarter way. We are still yet to implement some AI functionality in the platform, but it's definitely part of our experimentations that we've got going with the platform. So watch this space with how we're going to leverage AI in the platform to make your job as administrators a heck of a lot easier as well with it all. I've ripped through that. I hope it's been really, really helpful. If you've got any questions, please reach out. Info or support@tidyhq.com, or you can get in touch through all the usual ways. Hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for having us.